Hi everybody. I've been approached by a local restaurant in the past few days about making up some serving trays, and they want them roughly to be about 12 inches in diameter by about 1 1/4 inches in thickness. Now luckily for me, I have lots of wood lying around dry and ready to go, so I was able to work on a prototype straight away and get the all clear to proceed with the order. In the meantime, Cornelia's mother came to visit, my mother also, so they want one, Cornelia wants one, so I'll have to make a few extra. They'll all go to good homes and be used. One of the important things with this tray is that the interior is completely flat, so if you're using it for serving hot drinks or alcoholic beverages, they don't topple over. It's also important that it has quite a wide base. So that base is much larger than I would normally put on one of my platters, and that's to stop it rocking on the table. So over time, there is the possibility of the piece of wood moving so that all the effort you put into making this right can change. So it's really important that I choose this piece of wood from the right place within the tree. So in a few minutes, I'm going to take you out with the chainsaw and show you how to select the perfect piece for making this project and how to dry it. It's also important that the moisture content in this wood is suitable for where these are going to live. So here I have the Wagner Orion 930 moisture meter, and this reads from the surface of the wood rather than sticking probes into it. So we'll just turn it on there for a second. And over here on the side it says species material, so at the moment that's going to read 0.58. So what that means, I have this little booklet here that came with it, and it has the species settings. So it's full of all the different species. They're not all in there, but there's quite a selection in there to choose from, and they have more available on their website if it's not listed in here. So you have to set the meter for the wood that you're going to be using it on. So I've made this little cheat sheet, or I should say my daughter Isabel made that cheat sheet, if I can say it properly, and I've listed the most common woods that I work with. So here today it's the ash 0.58, and I have this little dial up and down to adjust the setting. So I'm going to click that there for a second, and at the moment it's taking the moisture reading from my palms, which are obviously a little sweaty at the moment. So let's put that on the piece of wood, and it's reading about 9%, so I'm pretty much ready to go. So before I dive into making this piece, let's grab the chainsaw and we'll go outside and we'll cut up a log. We seem to be getting all 4 seasons every hour today here in Ireland. Finally, the sun has come out again. I've just made a cut from the end of the log, and the main reason is to just try and identify the main crack that's likely to run the whole way through this piece before laying it out for getting our bowls, platters or trays. The very end of the log has been exposed to the weather for several months and usually has a crack radiating in many different directions from the center. So I've got past that. I can see the crack running through it here, and now the next step will be to cut in the width of our tray, which is over 12 inches in diameter. And at that point we'll mark it out and make the next cuts with the saw. Now that I've cut off a ring, things look very different from this side. So the first thing I notice is this area of rot right there in the center, which is the pith. Another area of rot down here, and also a little problem over there in the corner. So I'm going to get a combination of bowls and trays from this particular piece. So first of all, looking at the best place to get bowls, I would say in this area up here. The grain is nice and balanced if the rim of the bowl is going to be on this side. But when it comes to a tray, I think this area here would be good because I'm looking at the growth rings running straight down in relation to where I'm going to make my cut. So that will leave some really nice, beautiful, stable material. And I also could possibly get a tray here on the other side. In this section here, I can get 1, 2, 3, 4 perfect trays. The right grain orientation, where it's running straight across and 90 degrees in relation to the face of the top of the board. Down below, I have the same grain orientation, but they're not really big enough. And it's because the pith is not centered on the tree. I'm out here in my timber shed ready to end seal some of these pieces that I've already cut. Normally when I'm processing material, I will use the sawmill, as you can see there in the background, and it's really efficient for cutting up material for both my production and also for my classes. When I'm making platters or trays, I normally quarter saw the log, so that gives me a grain orientation similar to what I got cutting up this material here with the chainsaw. So first of all, I would normally cut the log into halves and then into quarters. And this one here in the middle, I have a combination of quarter saw material above the pith and underneath a through and through cut or flat sawn. Here on top you can see this section. This is just the end of one of these quarter sawn boards, so that gives a clear view of the vertical grain that I was speaking about. And normally what you'll have on the left hand side, in this case on this piece, would have been bark, and on the right hand side would have been the pith. We go over here, this piece would have been flat sawn. And the biggest issue with this is you waste a lot of wood as it dries because it buckles so much, it warps so much. So you really would have to allow another ½ an inch in the wet piece of wood for the distortion that's going to occur. And you can see the same happening in the pieces above it. Just before we put on the sealer, we'll take a close look at these pieces, and the first thing you'll notice is that there's a significant amount of defects here on the lower side. Now, I'm not that concerned about it because there is some beautiful material there on top with flamed pattern running through it. It's important when you're cutting up these blanks that you allow a little extra. So if you are making a 12-inch, 30-centimeter platter or tray, then you give it about an inch, 25 millimeters extra each side to allow for possible end checking. So if you look at these ones up here exposed to the air, there's a little bit of cracking on that. These were not sealed because they were already cracked, and sealing them at that point after milling was pointless. But with these here, they've been cut fresh, there are no cracks on it, and I'll seal them up using PVA sealer. I've given these pieces a good coat of sealer on both ends, and now what I could do is just stack them in the middle of all of this and let it air dry for about a year before bringing it indoors and then leaving it for a couple of months to bring it down to its final moisture content. But in a couple of days my wood dryer is going to be empty and I'll be putting on another load. So what I'm going to do is actually put these into the dryer and then they'll be available within a couple of weeks. So that grey box over there is my wood dryer. I'm inside my wood drying chamber at the moment, and really this is just an experiment in that normally this was set up with an Arrowsmith wood dryer which was specifically designed for drying wood, and it could reach temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius. At the moment I'm working with a household dehumidifier you can see on the floor, and it's really designed for temperatures not in excess of 35 degrees Celsius. So far things are looking really promising in that the moisture content in the wood is about 14%. I really don't see any degrade in the wood at all. And what I have here in the back are two tube heaters on the ground. These are designed for greenhouses. I just want to talk about this unit for a second. This actually was a freezer body from the back of a truck. So I've taken some of the cladding left over from doing our main building and put it on this, which makes it look a lot better. Here underneath you can see where it's collecting the water. On the left it's taken from the unit I've just been standing in, and that's taken about 4 litres of water each day. And on the right hand side is from the main chamber, which is full of about 300 bowls, and currently that's getting about 5 or 6 litres every day. So let's just open the control box for a second. So that is the finished piece, and I do think it looks pretty good.